Hello, welcome back to another video. Going forward, I will put a link to the previous video in the description area so that if you haven't seen it, you should watch that before you continue with this video because I try to tell the story here in linear format so that if you just jump on this as a first video, then you may have missed something before. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can watch it out of order as well, but I think it's easier to follow my story, my background, my philosophy if you watch things in sequential order. And for sure, if you like the content, please hit the subscriber button and the notification bell, hit the likes, do all of that, okay? In the previous video, I talked about being unshackled because I was separated from my parents, but I think I need to dive deeper, a little bit deeper into that so that it makes more sense. For those that are not familiar with the Vietnam War, after the Vietnam War ended in 1975, between 1975 and the early 80s, there was an exodus of people escaping Vietnam and the communist regime by boat. You can Google boat people, okay? Boat people were the term that was used often. There are all kind of videos on YouTube as well you can find. But yes, I was part of the boat people. And I did not left Vietnam on my own. I left with an older brother and an older sister, the three of us. I was 12, my brother was 13, my sister was 14. Okay? And to keep the story short, unless other people want me to talk more about that in a future video, we left Vietnam in June of 1979 by boat. We spent the next 9 months in refugee camp in Indonesia. And eventually in March of 1980, we landed in New York, upstate New York, where my uncle lived. My uncle at the time was pumping gas and trying to go to school. He was at the time he was in his late 20s, and struggled with learning English. But he's married with a 2-year-old daughter. They live in a 2-bedroom apartment. So he sponsored us. That's how we ended up in upstate New York. And we lived with him. It was not easy, okay? My first 2 years in America was very difficult. Many things, hard for me to adapt, new environment. I didn't speak any English. And we were poor, very poor. Was miserable. And I hated my family for putting me and my siblings through the hardship. Okay, I was angry. I was really angry for a long time because I didn't like how things turned out. I didn't know. I had no idea. At 12 and 13 years old, I had no idea what to expect. But certainly, coming to America after spending 9 months in a refugee camp in the worst condition possible, and then living in poverty in upstate New York. My first 2 years in America, going shopping for clothes was basically the Salvation Army. And I remember vividly my uncle got mad at me because my feet grew too fast and I outgrew the duck boots that he bought for me a few months earlier. I can't help it. Okay, it hurt to walk, but he got mad at me because I wasted his $5. I felt very lucky that I was not the kind of person that get depressed when things turn bad. I got angry. I was angry, but I didn't know how to fix anything. At that age, I was always angry. Angry at the world, angry at my family, angry at my uncle. Okay, so certainly a lot of anger issue. Okay, but at the same time, that's the beginning of me spending a lot of time thinking, wondering how to get out of this rut. Okay, I was never depressed, never, I was not the type to crawl into a cocoon with self-pity. I wanted to do something. I wanted to get out of this mess, but I didn't know how. And that was the beginning of the slow process in me thinking for myself, trying to figure out things on my own, and not let anyone else dictate to me how things should be. Because at that point, even at the age of 13, going on to 14, I realized that there's no roadmap. There is no one is gonna help me. Okay, no one. My brother, my older brother, and my older sister, we are all trying to figure out how to navigate in this new world. So it was just not me. We all approach life at this point in a very different way. And in many ways, they chose a different path. I chose my path. And that created a division between us for many decades. We have reconciled and come back together and got along much better in the past 10, 15 years. But for the first 15, 20 years in America, we were very different. We approached life, career, school in a very different way. And we fought, argued a lot. We are all older and wiser today. At the time, of course, in a 7th and 8th grade, it's same thing today. My son just entered high school this year, and the previous 2 years in social study, he learned about the Constitution. And he and I had a lot of discussion about the Constitution and the word equal. Back when I was 13 and 14 and go through that very difficult time of adjustment in my early days in America, the word equal was something that I scrutinized a lot because I tried to understand what it meant. I finally got it, but at first I didn't understand the word. The other word is fair. And I realized that, equal, even from the Constitution, is about equal rights, equal opportunities, but we are not equal. Nobody are equal. Okay, we're not born equal. Life is not fair. So the anger issue that I had about how life is not fair slowly dissipate into me understanding that life is not fair, and I'm just gonna have to make the best of what was given. I'm here. I'm in America. I'm gonna be given equal opportunity, equal rights, but I'm not equal to a lot of things with a lot of kids. I was small, undersized. It's not going to be equal in any way. I might be intelligent, I might be smart, but that's where it ends. Physically, I was not going to be equal to a lot of kids my age at that point. I wish I have a picture of me when I was at that age. There are pictures of me at that age somewhere in the house, but I can't seem to find it. But if I can find it down the road, I will show you how small, skinny I was. But one thing that I learned about myself in those early days was standing up for myself, because nobody else is going to do it for me. Okay, as I mentioned, the first year and a half I stayed with my uncle and his family. After the first 6 months, we moved to Albany, New York, because we were able to find someplace more affordable, someplace that have 3 bedroom instead of 2 bedroom, so that now my brother, my sister, and I no longer have to sleep in the living room. So we share the 3 bedroom together, the three of us. So we live in Albany, New York, but that lasted 1 year with him, and then he got accepted to dental school. Yes, he finally did well enough on the test to be in dental school. So he was faced with a tough decision to go to school and put us up for adoption. Okay, to make the long story short, that's how we ended up with a legal guardian. And that also moved us to the ghetto, the project of Albany. Anyone that is familiar with Albany, New York, I'm sure you're familiar with the area called Arbor Hill. Okay, I lived in Arbor Hill for 1 year. Tough area, okay? Tough project, the ghetto of Albany. And it was eye-opening, because my year and a half or so in Albany, New York, where I went to Hackett Middle School, that was a big eye-opening as far as the term equal and fair. Because, you know, I was very confused at this point of my life, okay? Because you gotta understand, I'm new to this country. I'm going to an inner city school where it's predominantly black. I'm learning about black history. I'm learning about Martin Luther King. I'm learning about how black people in the country has struggled with equality and are fighting for equality and fairness. And yet I was treated so poorly by just about everyone in school. So the young me at the time was questioning, how can you ask for fairness and equality when you treat me so poorly as an immigrant? How does that make any sense? Of course, now as I got older, right, I understand, yeah, middle school kids are brutal. Doesn't matter when or where or what race, what color, okay? Middle school are just brutal. But you gotta understand, my mental mindset at the time, I didn't know any better, okay? So it was very tough for me to go to school every day, to put up with all that nonsense and think that this make any sense to me. What turned around was gym class. Gym class at Hackett Middle School in Albany, New York, as well as Albany High, is all about basketball. Okay, there is no other sport. Okay, that's what all the kids want to play with, just basketball. And you know how it is in middle school. If you not good, nobody's gonna pick you to be in their team. Nobody. So I'm always the last one to be picked, because I'm short, I'm small, I don't know how to play the game. Literally, I did not know how to play the game. So I'm the last one to get picked by default. And nobody passed me the ball. Okay, here I am meandering up and down the court. Nobody passed me the ball. So after a couple days, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna do something. So I start to play defense. At least I watch and understand that, how to play defense. So I play defense. Tough defense. I was, heck, if I'm going to do something, do it right. Do the best I can. Okay? So I play tough defense, and right away, that rubbed all the kids the wrong way. I remember the bigger kids that are easily a foot taller than me was like, are you kidding me? This punk is gonna guard me. But I didn't care. I went right up there trying to steal the ball, trying to swat away the ball, and sometimes I succeeded, but I aggravated everybody else a lot more because they were just having fun, and here I was trying hard. Sure enough, before long, I got a few elbows to the face, okay? A few hard elbow, glass went flying, and eventually after the first week, I'm not sure if my glass broke because it fell hard on the floor or it fell hard on the floor after somebody elbowed me in the face and another kid stepped on my glass. I don't remember. I just remember getting whacked in the face really hard, and before I know it, I noticed that my glass is in two pieces. And, I used crazy glue, I used tape, you name it. We didn't have money to get a replacement, but I didn't care. So before long, after my glass got knocked off and broke apart again because, the crazy glue can only handle so much, the next day, I decided I'm playing defense. I don't need to see things very clearly, so I put my glass in my pocket and play. Eventually, a week later, the gym teacher, he see that I keep getting my face beat in by other kids playing basketball. He made me wear chemistry goggle, those big goggle. That's what I had to wear in gym class if I was to play. But I did, because what is the alternative? Standing around and run up and down the court doing nothing? Eventually, after a week or two, one of the kids stepped up and said, enough. Stop bullying him. I remember very clearly. His name was Guy Mallory. I appreciated his friendship from that point. Not that I needed a protector, but he was my protector. Big kid. This is 8th grade. He was easily 5'8", 5'9". Naturally gifted genetics because big shoulder, he looked like an athlete. I remember the gym teachers was nagging him every day. You should try out for the football team. You should try out for the track team. You are the one of the fastest kids in this school. Why don't you do this? Why don't you try out for some sport in this? So why don't you? And Guy was just a happy-go-lucky kid that liked to read comic books. He lived in a project in Arbor Hill as well. I walked home with him many times and stopped by his house, by his condo, apartment, whatever you want to call it, and we would hang out and we would hang out and read comic books. His apartment, his family was so poor. It was a single mom with him and his brother. They have no heat, so in the winter they turn on the stove. I remember the very first time I stepped into his apartment, I noticed the oven door was open and the burner on the stove was on, but nothing was cooking. And he's just like, don't touch it, it's hot, you're gonna burn yourself. But this is how we heat the apartment, okay? We don't have other heat. But Guy, it was not a big deal for Guy. Guy grew up in that environment, so he didn't think twice of it. But I appreciated his friendship for those early years because he was the one and only friend I had in those early days. but I learned a lot about myself in those early days that I didn't have a fear of standing up for myself. I'm not sure where that come from, to be honest. I'm not here to tell you that I know how to bring that out of people, but for me, I felt very blessed that I didn't have a fear of standing up for myself in those early days, and it certainly have helped me going forward in the past many decades. I was never fearful of speaking up for myself, and that's one of the things that I didn't care about the way many Asians in this country had carried out for the past many decades. In the next video, I'll talk more about model minorities. Okay, that's one topic that I really want to delve deep into. I will put a link below for those that never heard of the term model minority. It is something that I discuss at length with my son as far as what is wrong with many Asians in this country, and I really want him to not go down that route. I don't want him to grow up in this country as a model minority. I want him to be able to stand up, chin up, and speak up. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.